Hey everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streamer Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. I am thrilled to be back with you once again with another amazing slate of physical media releases. We have titles from G-Kids, Arrow Video, Disney, Warner Brothers. We have so many titles to cover that I'm really excited to dig right into, including one of the ones that really shocked me when it was announced, and that is Disney's / Fox's or 20th Century Studios release of Kingdom of Heaven on 4K Ultra HD Steelbook release. Now, like Disney / 20th Century Studios, they've been kind of ramping up their 4K catalog releases this year, and I'm here for it. Like, I'd heard rumors of Tombstone whenever it was before it came out, but I had not heard any rumblings of Kingdom of Heaven. I had no reason to believe that would actually come to fruition. Yet here we are, and I could not be more thrilled that we get director Ridley Scott's epic that was overlooked at the time of release because the theatrical cut was not super great. But then, as Ridley Scott is wont to do, he came through with a director's cut, added in a bunch of extra footage that made all the material much more compelling. And we have now what is considered to be many people's one of Ridley Scott's best movies, which is Dillon. It's a period piece set during the Crusades. It's starring Orlando Bloom and has a litany of character actors and notable performers like Liam Neeson. We get a small Edward Norton role. You never see him, but you hear his voice. Just a ton of people that you have either gotten even more famous since the time that this was released or were already famous at the time. But it's a big epic from the director of like Gladiator. It's like in that kind of same vein of like historical action and vengeance and honor, all this kind of good stuff swirled in here for over 3 hours of runtime, and it's very compelling throughout. And I know a lot of people like to rag on Orlando Bloom as a performer. I think this is one of his better performances. I think he does a good job in here, and then all of the supporting ensemble support him quite well. So this is one title that I thought would be stuck on Blu-ray forever. So now that it's gotten a 4K release, I am thrilled. And Disney has done a really nice job with this one. They continue their trend of giving their 4K releases Dolby Vision. So this has been given a new 4K restoration in Dolby Vision. And there's been some debate on what the actual master of this is in terms of where it came from. There's been rumors that this was a rebuild from Disney's point of view, because there have been rumors of like that being said at screenings, that it took them like 7 months to get this in order. And was this a complete rebuild, or was this a 4K upscale from the 2K digital intermediate, which is seemingly more likely. But if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm not allergic to upscales to 4K, because they can still look amazing in 4K, even if it's not a native 4K presentation. And no matter what the source may actually be, I'm not sure. I know that this looks much better than the old director's cut Blu-ray that I have. I had the original one that was like one disc. But even if this is an upscale with the Dolby Vision, the better encoding, all that good stuff, this looks amazing. Ridley Scott has not pulled a James Cameron and like made sure this was like scrubbed of grain or anything like that. You do get the natural texture of this. The color grades are a little bit more consistent than they were on the previous Blu-ray release. There are still some minor inconsistencies here and there. I think that's just baked into kind of the source. But overall, this is a really nice looking release that I think gets this as close to the original look that Ridley Scott wanted as possible on the format. And you do also get a new Dolby Atmos soundtrack that sounds pretty solid. The old DTS 5.1 was also very good as well. So I think that's probably on par with just a little bit more expansive, like with the height channels and everything, just expanding the battlefield and everything. There still has a good amount of power with this new Atmos track. It's just a little bit more expansive and all-encompassing. And as I mentioned, the first release I had, it was pretty bare bones in terms with my one disc release. So as you can see here, you have the Blu-ray disc, which has some special features, and then an extra bonus disc, which includes most of the previously available special features. There's a couple of documentaries, like an A&E documentary and a short documentary that were not able to be included. But overall, they've done a really nice job of porting over all the previously available special features. Which would include 3 commentary tracks, a 2.5-hour making of featurette, and then or documentary, and then tons of featurettes that go like broken down by section. There's so many videos and galleries, all that kind of stuff. You do get 2 versions of the film on 4K, just slightly different. They're both the director's cut, but one is a roadshow version, which adds a couple extra minutes, so you get some opening overtures and just kind of like extra fanfare to make the experience seem a little bit more kind of throwback, like the epics that used to be released and go tour around the country and everything, a roadshow. So video-wise, this looks amazing. Whether it's an upscale or not, it looks amazing in 4K in Dolby Vision. Really deep black levels. Some of the black crush that was on the previous Blu-ray releases have been ameliorated quite a bit on this one. Not much in the way of blown highlights or anything like that. Everything's just kept pretty ideal to the source for this one. And then sounds good. Most of the special features are ported over, and then a really nice steelbook. And the only real drawback I can say to this is you might not be able to buy it right now. It is very scarce. This is similar to the Tombstone release, where I think Disney is kind of operating with a strategy of scarcity, and it's fostering a kind of fear in fans where they're releasing pretty expensive steelbooks and making fans very scared that they will miss out on them. So it's kind of makes things go out of stock very quickly, and they are slow to restock things. And a lot of previous steelbooks have not been like replenished to this day. But word on the street is that both Tombstone and Kingdom of Heaven are in the process of getting more copies replicated. But if you can find it around and you're scared that you might not be able to get it, I understand if you want to like maybe pay a little bit more than you usually would. Your other option is to go overseas and import a more stripped down, not a stripped down version, but not a steelbook, a standard case version from overseas, which is the same content and a little bit lower price point, but by the time you import it, may even out a little bit more, just depending on where you order it from, how that kind of works out. Don't be paying hundreds of dollars for this. Definitely not. But just be on the lookout for it for when it might come back in stock, or import it from overseas if you're really afraid that you're not going to get it. Because this is a good one to own on 4K. Big action epics are really some of the best to watch on 4K. And I think fans who love this movie will be very pleased by this release, because I think there was a time where Disney wouldn't have even been fathomable that they would release this on 4K. But now they're getting into that game a little bit more and opening up their vaults a little bit more. We're getting releases like this, and I only hope they continue coming, because they have such a rich catalog on their own and on the 20th Century Studios side. So Kingdom of Heaven on 4K. Once you can find it, you will love it. It's a great release from Disney, and I am so excited it's in my collection. I hope it's in your collection soon. Next up, we have another steelbook release, but this one's optional. This is from Paramount. It is the new series, Showtime series, or Paramount Plus series, Dexter Original Sin. This is kind of a prequel series to the original Dexter series. You can see the cool steelbook, the Harry's Code here on that. So this is a series that without spoiling anything, it picks up with a modern day Dexter played by Michael C. Hall at the beginning of the series, and then it flashes back to him when he was younger and first joining his job at the crime scene investigation unit. and really delving into his early days, trying to balance being in criminal investigation territory and being a serial killer who kills other serial killers, and just kind of a vigilante serial killer of sorts. And what this series does, which I know a lot of people have maybe been burned by Dexter in recent years. I know a lot of people near the end of the original series, they found the quality to be dipping, or with the New Blood series a couple of years ago, that may have left a little bit of a bad taste in people's mouth. I didn't dislike it. But this one, Original Sin, it really kind of takes things back to basics, and it really feels like the earlier days of Dexter, where you get, it's Dexter doing what he's doing best, of hunting down people and bringing justice to them, and try to evade his own capture, and learning from Harry, his dad, and his relationship with his sister and everything, and that kind of familial bond mixed with so it's like a little bit of a human side to him with his kind of serial killer side. And that's kind of what really drove the earlier seasons of Dexter. And in this series, you get that, and you get to see a lot of characters who would eventually show up on Dexter in their kind of younger form. So there's different actors playing them and everything. The drawback to this is, while it is some of the best Dexter that we've seen in years, it is a little bit familiar, and it's not doing a lot different from that original series. So it's really fun if you have a great affection for the original series and you kind of just want to get in that world again. And that's with really good storytelling and everything executed very well. I think you will really enjoy Original Sin, but it's not really, it is kind of artificially prolonging the franchise, and there's even another series coming out later this year. So this is really just the franchise that cannot die, which is kind of fitting for what happens kind of in the franchise itself. But if you want more Dexter, this is a good version of it. If you're kind of done with Dexter and you just kind of want to put him to bed, you can kind of leave him behind, and you're not missing anything revolutionary, but it is a good series if you're a fan of the franchise and you also want to go along with the ride of just continuing the property. It's solid. It's 10 episodes. They're all entertaining, and the cast, including the young man who gets to inhabit Dexter, who I really enjoyed from a series, amazing series on Netflix called The OA. It was good to, I think this guy's name is Patrick Gibson. He's taking over here for this series, and he does a fantastic job getting Michael C. Hall's mannerisms, making those come through in his performance. And a lot of these performers are doing really good work, even if the storyline itself are maybe things that we've seen in minor flashbacks or talked about in the previous original Mothership Dexter. We get to see that played out here, and if that sounds interesting to you, I think you'll have fun with the series. It's presented with an HD, beautiful HD, bold colors, all that good stuff. No, there's not too many episodes packed per disc. Everything's spread out pretty well. Dolby True HD 5.1 sounds really solid. And then you get a 10-minute featurette, not loaded with special features, but you get a small featurette. And then the optional steelbook, or there's a standard case version here. I do like the steelbook because it kind of harkens back to the original season 1 cover art in a very interesting way. So yeah, you kind of know if this is for you. If you're a Dexter fan, get it. If you're done with the series, no reason to pick this up. But it is a solid series. I enjoyed it, and this Blu-ray is a good version of it. So from Paramount, Dexter Original Sin, check it out. Heading over to the good folks at A24, we have their new Blu-ray release of Luca Guadagnino's Queer. This is Daniel Craig inhabiting kind of a fictionalized version of William S. Burroughs, who wrote the novella that this is loosely based on. And it kind of deals with his exploits in Mexico City, I believe back in the 50s, and just his kind of semi-obsession with a young GI, and him just trying to form a connection with him, and going on kind of like a journey with him to, like, I believe Ecuador. There's a lot going on here. It's you get some on the other side, you get like the chapters that are kind of referenced in the movie and everything. So there you got some of these postcards. While the narrative itself can be a little tough to get into at times, it's very kind of mood driven and very kind of trippy at times. I think a lot of kind of more conventional audiences will especially balk at some of the material that goes on at the end of the movie whenever there's a ayahuasca trip. But I think that's kind of what makes it a little bit more interesting than kind of a standard kind of biopic or whatever. Not my favorite Guadagnino, but I think it's interesting. But what I'm really here for is the performance from Daniel Craig. He does an amazing job. It's one of his best performances he's ever given. And I can see this being a movie that I grow to like even more. It's kind of a challenging watch on the first viewing, and given the amount of titles I'm talking about, I haven't given it more than one viewing because it's almost 2.5 hours long. But the vibe that's kind of settled, and just the use of kind of more modern music mixed in with the time period, and all the performances from Daniel Craig and Drew Droege and Jason Schwartzman. So many good performances in here that if you're a fan of Guadagnino or the writing of William S. Burroughs, I think you'll enjoy this, even if it is kind of, like I said, a little bit tough to get into. So if you give it a little bit of time and you kind of set with it, I think it's an interesting watch for sure. And it looks really nice on Blu-ray. It's just a 1080p, nice looking kind of filmic transfer. It looks quite nice. I believe there's a 4K being released overseas. I haven't been able to check that one out yet, but just for those who are interested, might want to import that. But for A24, you get the Blu-ray. It has an Atmos soundtrack that sounds really great, expansive. It's tasteful and but not like distracting in its enveloping nature. You get a commentary track. You get a nice making of featurette that's about like 30-ish, 35 minutes long. You get some featurettes, scene breakdowns, music video. Really nice in terms of special features. So if you're a fan of the movie, nice release on Blu-ray from A24. Make sure to check it out. One of Daniel Craig's best performances. And yeah, very much worth a watch. But that is not something I can say about my next movie. This is from Warner Brothers. It is the Blu-ray release of The Alto Knights, starring Robert De Niro. I'm a big De Niro fan, and he is pretty much the only reason to watch this, in my opinion. From director Barry Levinson, maybe one of his worst films. This is really just a confounding movie. It is Robert De Niro in kind of a crime mafia movie in which he plays dual roles. He plays like a crime boss and his childhood best friend who grows up with him, and kind of friends become like strained relationships and enemies, and they like trying to take each other out, and they're trying to battle like against the government who are trying to take them down, and really kind of figuring out the whole mafia like complex and web that's developed. It's really just kind of your standard mob story, but with just Robert De Niro acting across from himself. And surprisingly, that's one of the least distracting aspects of this movie. There are other people in makeup. Their makeup is much more distracting than just seeing Robert De Niro in makeup. Cosmo Jarvis in particular, his character, is... I don't know what they were doing with him. They could have just hired like a more kind of heftier actor instead of putting basically like a fat suit on him. That looks kind of not very convincing. All the dialogue is just very kind of like you've heard it before. It's standard mob dialogue. This is from like the writer of like Goodfellas and The Irishman and Bugsy. Like this this just, there's a few scenes in here that I can see like, oh, that's a pretty decent scene and stuff. Like there's one where Robert De Niro is giving testimony and like he's like refusing to plead the fifth like his like cronies have done and stuff, and like how he's trying to maneuver around that. That's a pretty solid scene. But whenever I'm pointing to like one, maybe two scenes in a movie, I think that kind of tells you that it's not very much, like not very good. It was really just a chore to watch it, 2 hours long. I wish I could say this was good because I love Robert De Niro, but this is at most probably a stream it before you buy it, like on Max or something, if whenever they put that up there. But it's not a very good movie. I hate to say that. But the Blu-ray presentation is nice if you like, if you do like the movie. It looks good. Dolby Atmos soundtrack, it sounds good as well. No special features. But yeah, the Alto Knights, one of the more baffling studio releases I've watched this week or this year. I'm surprised it exists. So not recommended by me. And some may say, like, you gave the last movie such a terrible score. How can you say positive things about your next movie? Because it doesn't have the best reputation. But I will defend myself and this movie to an extent. I'm heading over to Arrow Video and their 4K release of Swordfish. Now, Swordfish, it kind of came at the height of, like, cyber thrillers. This is the reversible cover art over here. Now, if you turn this around, you will see this cover art where you have people hacking into mainframes and all that kind of good stuff. And in this one in particular, Hugh Jackman's like a master hacker hired by John Travolta to with the promise of like a ton of money that can help him restart the life he wants to live with his daughter, and if he only hacks into blah 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 blah. But it's kind of like John Travolta and his crew playing this is a fold out poster, kind of playing a acting like they're trying to do some stuff for the good of the country, but they have to do bad in order to do something good and all that kind of stuff. And then you have Don Cheadle as like an agent trying to stop them. And so yeah, really good cast. Halle Berry, just a really solid cast. And while stuff is dated, and oftentimes very cheesy, like John Travolta has a terrible haircut and facial hair. I can defend this movie to an extent by saying that I appreciate kind of the real, like, handmade, like, practical qualities of it. Like, there are some very bonkers scenes that I think are executed very well or in an entertaining way. Like, there's an insane car chase, like in the middle of this movie where Hugh Jackman is driving and John Travolta has like a machine gun where he is just like mowing down like cars, like standing up in a car and like mowing vehicles down and crashing them and everything. It's wild as hell, and it's all done. You can tell that they're not covering up a lot of stuff with like digital effects and everything. These are like practical stuntmen who are like exploding real cars, and like everything just has that kind of like textural quality to them that seems real and alive and magnetic, and I really appreciate that about that. Is the story great? No. Is the acting great? No, it's passable. But I think it's a fun movie despite it being kind of dumb and kind of bad, but it's fun dumb in my opinion. And then, yes, is it exploitative? For sure. You get, like, I won't even talk about, like, whenever you first see Hugh Jackman's hacking skills, what is being done to him while that happens. You get Halle Berry randomly, like, showing her boobs, I think, for the first time on screen on this one. I think that was a big selling point back in the day for the pervs out there. So yeah, this movie is definitely kind of like male gazy. It's problematic. It's stupid, but it's also fun. I have to admit, it is a fun movie, and with all of its bad qualities. So I actually had the way I owned this previously was an old HD DVD of this one. I know the Blu-ray that came out was around the same time in 2006. Was similarly ancient. They used an old BC1 codec, and it really just did not hold up. For this one, we get a new 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative in Dolby Vision. And there are aspects of this that don't look amazing in 4K, even like with the 4K restoration. Like the opening, there's an opening kind of digital effect, I believe, where there's an explosion and you're kind of slow motion panning and everything, and that doesn't look the best in 4K. But whenever you're like, besides that and like a few kind of special effects shot, everything looks pretty fantastic. There are really nice textural details, and nice colors. This has a really strong color grade that kind of resolves very well in here. And you get, just like I said, real nice textural details, just pure resolution, looks really nice. Deep black levels, no blown highlights. Everything just holds together very well with this 4K restoration in Dolby Vision. This has been approved by the director, the master has, and yeah, it just looks like it's a major upgrade from that old HD DVD I have. I'm sure it is from the Blu-ray as well. You get just a that, I believe that may have been a lossy Dolby Digital track back in the day. This is a full DTS 5.1 track. Sounds really good. Big explosions, like I said, machine guns, just cars exploding, all that kind of stuff. Sounds very big and like heavy in a good way in this track. You get a commentary track. You get new interviews. You get archival featurettes. Overall, yes, not the best movie, but kind of a guilty pleasure. I don't subscribe to that, but like I think people would call it a guilty pleasure. So if you are a fan of this one, this 4K release from Era Video, it's very, very nice. And it's like brings in an audio visual, special features, overall really good package from Era Video. I think you'll be very pleased if you pick this up and you're a fan of the movie. Sticking with Era Video, but going back a couple of decades, going over to Japan, we have the release of The Invisible Swordsman on Blu-ray. So despite kind of like the more intense looking cover art for this one, it is actually a little bit more, I wouldn't say lighthearted, but more like comedic in tone a little bit. Because it does involve like our main character losing his father and kind of following his kind of path to like on his way to the underworld, and he kind of meets someone who kind of guides him into like taking a potion that can turn him invisible, and he's like he's training to be a warrior and everything, but he's very clumsy and all that good stuff. But he becomes invisible and is trying to get revenge for his father. But throughout this, things kind of get a little bit slapsticky at times, but there is kind of like this overall revenge story that kind of mixes with it. I've seen some people playfully call this like almost like a Don Knotts movie on Letterboxd. I wasn't sure I'd go that far, but it is kind of a little bit hokey at times and more kind of, it's not as deadly serious as a lot of Japanese movies. It definitely has fun with the premise. And it's very short as well. It's like 78 minutes, so an hour and 18 minutes. But it's a fun time. I enjoyed it. It's a little bit different for the genre, and I like that they did something a little bit supernatural, a little bit more lighthearted. So I quite enjoyed checking this out. This new Blu-ray does come from an HD transfer supplied by Kadokawa. Overall looks solid. I didn't notice much in the way of lingering damage or anything. It's encoded quite well. Maybe some small things here and there that maybe could have been better optimized, or maybe a little bit further pass, like remastering pass, may have tightened things up a little bit, but overall it's a pretty solid looking HD transfer. You do get the original mono in Japanese, you get a commentary track, you get 2 interviews with film historians and everything. Overall, good release for The Invisible Swordsman from Arrow Video. And they have another huge release, going back to the land of 4K. We have the highly anticipated release of Dark City, and this is one of their big boys. Their thick packages, their chipboard packaging. So this is from director Alex Proyas, and I will get this out very carefully here. So just that's the back. So I had actually watched this one for the first time last fall. So it was interesting to get this one so quickly and be able to view it again. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I watched the theatrical cut at that time. I mostly stuck with the director's cut on this viewing, but this does offer both versions of the film, thankfully in 4K, for those who care. So in terms of the interior, this is a reversible cover art. It's kind of theatrical one sheet. You get a card, like a kind of a business card type thing, from like relates to the movie. You get some postcards. There's old Jennifer Connelly, Rufus Sewell, Kiefer Sutherland, and there. So you can see, there's some of the back. There you go. So in addition to that, you have the 2 discs inside. So the first disc is the director's cut, and then the second disc is the theatrical cut. In addition to that, you get a fold-out poster here. So here you go. That's one side, and the other here. And finally, in terms of packaging, you get a pretty thick booklet here. So there's Kiefer Sutherland again, and here's a look with all the essays and photo reproductions. Lots of good stuff in here. So for those who haven't seen the movie, it's pretty interesting, cult favorite. It's kind of a mysterious sci-fi noir about a man who kind of wakes up in kind of an unfamiliar space. There's a dead body around him, and he kind of he's being told that he's married, and he has vague memories. It's kind of like a noir in the fact that he's seeking out the answers to this mystery of what's going on in this city where the sun never rises. It's raining a lot of the time. There's seemingly these bald, mysterious men who have their hands in everything and kind of control a lot of the city and what's going on and everything. And as you get more towards the mystery of what's going on, you kind of peel back the layers, and it's really rewarding. And I don't want to spoil a lot of this, but it's if you like sci-fi and film noir, this is a beautiful blend of that. And I agree with the consensus that this is a cult favorite, and why I understand why people love it, because it's a lot of fun. The director's cut is typically thought of to be the more accepted cut of the movie, but some people like them a little bit faster pacing of the theatrical cut, but it does hold your hand a little bit more and reveals some stuff in the opening narration that first-time viewers may appreciate more. Kind of learning that more as I go along in the director's cut. So I would suggest starting with the director's cut, maybe going over to theatrical and see how that works for you. But as a first experience, maybe stick with the director's cut just for discovery's sake. And so both versions of the movie are entertaining, and I think I'm glad this got a 4K because the old Blu-ray that I had was not cutting it. It had a lot of DNR and smoothing and stuff, so it just wasn't cutting it. But now we get a new 4K restoration of the 35mm original camera negative for the theatrical cut, and any footage that is unique to the director's cut comes from a 2K master. So while it is not perfect, Arrow's done a fairly nice job of melding the director's cut footage with the theatrical cut footage. You may notice small variances from like in some spots, but overall it kind of all blends pretty well in Dolby Vision. While there's not any like sun or like to kind of like come into play, there are like internal light sources and like a lot of the production design. There's some colorful stuff with like clothing and like I said, like set dressing, all that kind of stuff. Looks very nice in Dolby Vision, but with so much of the movie being dark, you want deep black levels, which this thankfully has. And probably most importantly is that it retains the original organic film grain, so nothing's been DNR'd or smoothed over. This just looks natural as you would want it to look on 4K. So this has been approved by the director of photography, so it should look as close to how it was originally intended to look as possible. And you do get a 5.1 track, a stereo track, and a new Dolby Atmos track. So you have options depending on what you're interested in. All of them are really great, but I always love whenever there are options for people who like a certain version over another, if they want to be more artistically pure versus wanting the newest in technology. I like that there are options. So you also get tons of commentary tracks. So on the theatrical cut, you get 2 commentary tracks. On the director's cut, you get 5 commentary tracks. You get 2 new, 3 archival. From what I can tell, one of the archival is a one with Roger Ebert, which he's also on the theatrical cut. So from my understanding is that they are basically the same commentary track, but there's some expanded information on the director's cut. I only have so much time. I can't listen to like 7 commentary tracks in time for this episode, but that is what I've gathered. You get a new 1-hour documentary, you get 2 visual essays, and tons of archival featurettes. So loaded with special features, 2 different versions of the movie, both looking at the best that they can. And just a huge upgrade from the old Blu-ray. Great like in-box special features, on-disc special features. Home run from Arrow Video. I really, really like how this looks and sounds. If you're a fan of this movie, this is definitely the way to get it, because if you have the old Blu-ray, you know it doesn't look the best, and this looks fantastic. So Dark City from Arrow Video, definitely the way to go. One of the better releases I'm talking about this week. Probably the best release I'm talking about this week. Really great from Arrow Video. If you want to stick in the sci-fi realm, you can head over to G Kids and Shout Factory and their release of Dan Da Dan Season 1, Dan Da Dan. So this is one of the more acclaimed anime series over the past couple of years. It is almost impossible to explain to newcomers what exactly this is about. The best I can say is it involves 2 young people, a guy and a girl who... one of which believes in aliens, and one of which believes in ghosts, and but doesn't. Each of them believes in one, but doesn't believe in the other. Until one day they kind of start a burgeoning friendship, but they kind of dare each other to kind of go to a place where each believes that they can get in contact with like the paranormal entities. And they do. And it kind of leads to like a whole thing I can't really explain with kind of like demon ghosts and possessions and aliens trying to probe and obsessions with genitalia. And it's a bonkers premise of like get like paranormal fights. And there's a lot happening over these, I believe, 12 episodes. That it involves aliens, ghosts, wieners, like bonkers animation, action, comedy. They're like but most importantly, even when some of the narrative stuff can get a little off the rails at times, I say that with affection. Um, it all comes back to the characters, and the core characters in this story are great. They have a lot of great chemistry with one another, and just seeing them interact is one of the great joys of watching this show. And that is what some of the best anime series that they do so well. It's just making good characters that audiences can root for and care about. And Don really, I think, threads that needle quite well. So if you're looking for a new anime series, this one's a good one. The first season's really great. So you get all 12 episodes over these 2 discs. They're half-hour episodes, so nothing is overly crowded or anything in terms of the encode or all that. You get the option of Japanese or English audio. I would stick with the original Japanese, but you do as you wish. You get some interviews, episode breakdowns, and this just looks really nice in high definition. Great bold colors. But one thing this series does also is it doesn't overly rely on colors. If it wants to do like a black and white sequence, it'll do that for like narrative purposes, which also looks great. The grayscale and everything looks good. And the DTS 2.0 soundtrack also is very solid. So really nice release of Don Season 1. I know this will make a lot of people very happy. There's also like a big collector's edition, which I did not get. But if you're really a big fan of the series and you want kind of like special like packaging and all kinds of like knickknacks and stuff, you can go for that. But the standard version is also a good option, a cheaper option for fans. But just depending on your level of fandom, you'll want to pick either one up. But this one is a fun release and very much worth checking out for anime enthusiasts. Sticking in the world of Japan and Supernatural, we are going over to Radiance Films, one of my favorite labels, and their release of The Tale of Oiwa's Ghost. So this one was an interesting one. I kind of went into it sort of blind, and I kind of realized as I was watching it that this is another version of a general like tale. Here's the OBI strip that you can kind of remove to see the full artwork here. This is another version of a story that, like a movie that was included in their Dai Gothic set. And I think each version has their strengths and weaknesses in terms of as an adaptation. But I did enjoy this movie about a man who is married, and then he finds a new woman that he kind of wants to be with, and in order to be with her, he needs to get rid of his wife, and he tries to kind of kill her with poison, and ends up she comes back to haunt him. And that's kind of like the bare bones premise of this. The makeup work in this one is especially effective, I think. This is from director Tai Kato, who I've talked about in the past. He does a really good job with this material. I'm not sure which version I like more, but I do like the story overall, and I think this is a good adaptation of it. And in terms of the Blu-ray release, this does get an HD transfer provided by Toei. Overall, pretty solid transfer. Maybe small things that could have been optimized with further remastering here and there, but usually a lot of these Japanese companies don't want their masters tinkered with. But overall, it's solid. The HD file that was given is good. Everything looks really nice, and it's encoded very well. You get an interview and a video essay. Overall, good release from Radiance Films. As always, I always love their releases, and The Tale of Oiwa's Ghost is another good one from them. Going over to one of my favorite 2025 releases so far. This is from Universal Focus Features release of The Ballad of Wallis Island. This is the definition of a Dillon movie. This is about a music obsessive guy who lives on a kind of a remote island, who he has we learn that he has won the lottery at one point. So he has a bunch of money, and he invites his favorite musicians that are no longer playing together to kind of reunite on the island and play a private concert. What they do not know is that the only person that they are going to be playing for is that one man. And he's kind of an awkward fellow, and just it's mostly like this man. He's like our main character. He shows up first, and he's just really has like a real awkward but hilarious dynamic with our main our main character who's invited everyone there. And then we have Carey Mulligan over here. He's like the real star, along with Sean Clifford from Fleabag, who has like a small role as a shopkeeper in town. This kind of dynamic between like the three or the two, whatever configuration that there is, it's so awkward, but it's hilarious. It's heartfelt. It's a lot about people getting over grief, getting over trying to like leave past grudges behind, trying to come to like an acceptance of like with other people, and really kind of forming friendships and all this kind of stuff, and all set within the world of like folk music and stuff. And there's a lot of really great songs. If you're a fan of John Carney movies like Begin Again or Once or anything like that, Flora and Son, Ballad of Wallis Island is right there up with those for me. This was played at Sundance earlier this year. I did not get to see that at the time, but I'm now catching up on it, and it's automatically probably in my top 10 of the year at the moment. Really, really love this movie. So heartfelt, emotional, hilarious. Love it, love it, love it. The Blu-ray is very nice. Great HD transfer. Audio's good too. DTS 5.1. No special features, unfortunately, but as I'm just glad to have this on Blu-ray. And I'm sure I'll be watching it many, many more times. It's a really, really great movie. Heading over to a couple of Kino Studio Classics titles, the first of which fittingly is also set along the water, and this is Nathan Hayes with Tommy Lee Jones and Michael O'Keefe. So this is a period piece swashbuckler with Tommy Lee Jones playing kind of like a roguish pirate and trying to rescue a woman who is kidnapped, and alongside the woman's fiance, who is kind of like doesn't get along the best with TLJ's character, but they kind of form a rescue posse and to rescue this woman. And it's, like I said, it's a swashbuckler. It's fun. It's very sprightly. It doesn't last. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. It covers a lot of ground in a short amount of time. So luckily, it doesn't overstay its welcome. I love the character interactions and dynamics between the performers. They sell a chemistry very well. That really makes us excel more than maybe the script may give it. Really nice production design and production value overall. Like it really feels like there was some thought put into this, and yeah, it's surprised me. Pirate like adventures and stuff aren't always my favorite, but I enjoyed this. And if you're a fan of Tommy Lee Jones or just like swashbuckling pirate movies, it's worth checking out. But before I watched this, I just seen the title and this artwork very briefly. I didn't look closely. I thought it was a buddy cop movie. I was stunned whenever it turned out to be a period piece. But yeah, don't be like me. Just know what you're getting into. But it's a fun time if you are interested. This Blu-ray from Kino comes from a new 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Very nice transfer. Natural film grains intact. Nice, beautiful colors. It's been encoded pretty competently. No real grievances with this one. Everything, it's been cleaned up quite well, and it looks nice. You get 2 commentary tracks, one new, one archival, but definitely worth checking out on Blu-ray if it sounds interesting to you at all. Another Blu-ray debut, stateside at least. This has been released overseas before, but is Mike Hodges' I'll Sleep When I'm Dead with Clive Owen, Jonathan Rhys Meyers, Charlotte Rampling, Malcolm McDowell. So this is a crime tale with Clive Owen playing a man who is a former kind of big crime guy who kind of ran the city, but he's trying to get away from his kind of past. He's trying to kind of reform himself until one day tragedy befalls a family member, and he kind of has to get back into the game of menacing people to get to the bottom of who kind of hurt his family member and what he's going to do once he reaches that person. So it's really him coming back to town where he once ran things and just kind of blowing through it like a force and just really just trying to get to the bottom of what happened to his family member. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid movie. There were aspects of the narrative that didn't quite sit with me very well. This is a big trigger warning for sexual assault. They mention rape dozens of times. So if that's kind of triggering for you, be aware of that. But what I really enjoyed about this movie is Clive Owen's performance. He is an actor I always really enjoyed, and I wish he was in more things because he was so good in the 2000s, and I just kind of hate that he's kind of tapered off a little bit more. I think the last thing I saw was him as Bill Clinton in that FX series, but he's very good in this. The movie itself is fine. It's not my favorite Mike Hodges movie, but overall, it's worth a watch if you like kind of very gritty, hard to watch crime movies, like a little bit visceral. Worth a watch. So this has been given a new 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. It looks good. Similar to Nate and Hayes, it's no lingering specks of damage. Everything seems to be encoded pretty well. Black levels are nice. No crush or anything like that. Everything just kind of resolves nicely. You get a commentary track, a featurette, and deleted scenes. If any of this interests you, if you like any of these performers, or if you like a good crime movie, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Very visceral, but worth checking out. If you haven't had your fill of visceral crime movies, we go over to Raro Video and their release of the Italian crime thriller, Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man. And this is kind of like there's poliziottessi subgenre. You have cops who kind of shoot first and ask questions later. And there's people kind of taking out people that are close to them, and these two hotheads really just getting into a lot of violent interactions. This starts off with one of the most insane car chases that I've seen in a while, and apparently, according to the back of the cover, they did not get permission to shoot this, so they were all shooting this wild car chase without people knowing, and just it was very dangerous, as Italian movies used to do things very dangerously, but it shows on screen. It's very visceral and very gripping, for sure. But yeah, if you like this subgenre, Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man is worth a watch, but it is very brutal at times. You do get a new 4K restoration that looks nice. I didn't notice any major damage that's remaining or anything. It kind of all resolves very well. Commentary track, a documentary, and some TV spots. Overall, good release from Raro Video. They always do a nice job with this subgenre, and this is no different. You do get the original Italian audio, and yes, so worth checking out for fans of poliziottessi films. Heading over to Anchor Bay, we have kind of the slacker burnout comedy, Sour Party. So this is about two friends, the one of which is this woman here. Her sister is about to have a baby shower, and she refuses to go to her sister's without a gift, even though her sister repeatedly says, I just want you there with clean hair and you don't have to give me a gift. But she lies to her sister and says that she has a gift for her. And thus starts an odyssey of these two trying to make it to the baby shower, find money, track down kind of old acquaintances to kind of pay, get money that is owed to them so they can buy this baby gift and get to the baby shower. So it's kind of like your standard like Odyssey through a town movie. And I wish I could say I loved it more. There were moments I thought were pretty amusing, but I was kind of comparing it to kind of like a similar movie called Izzy Gets the Fuck Across Town, which I loved. But the humor in this one was much less, it was more miss than hit. And then like any kind of emotional kind of avenues that they tried to go down didn't really hit either. There are some interesting cameos. My favorite cameo was right at the beginning, which was Reggie Watts, who people might know best from like Comedy Bang Bang or some like the late night talk shows. I believe it's on Seth Meyers. Then you get people like Corey Feldman, and there's a couple other like bigger names here. And while it's like fun, I guess, to see celebrities, I would much rather have like a really funny script, and it just wasn't really hitting for me as much as I wanted to. Like I said, I laughed at a few things, and I dig the overall vibe of the movie. It's very I've seen people compare this a little bit to like Broad City, which I also like quite a bit more than this. It pains me that I cannot say better things about this because it has all the makings for something I'd really love. It just like it didn't get there for me comedically. So it's like kind of a mindless watch for me, but it didn't make me laugh very much. But the Blu-ray, it looks nice. If you're interested in checking out the movie, it looks pretty good. It only has Dolby Digital 5.1 lossy audio, no lossless audio, but it doesn't seem to suffer massively from it. It just wanted to note it. You do get a commentary track for it and like some featurettes and like a video yearbook and stuff. I like the performances and I like a lot of the people in it, but the comedy itself was just a bit more inconsistent than I want it to be. So if it sounds interesting to you, check it out with caution, but this is probably pretty hard to find overall. It's a very small movie, but check it out if it sounds interesting to you. Heading over to Mill Creek Entertainment, we have their newest release of the 80s cult classic Rad. If you like an outsider movie that deals in like cycling, like bicycling and everything, tricks and like love stories and all that kind of good stuff, this is your ticket. I've previously written pretty extensively about this movie when the first Blu-ray release from Mill Creek was released through a steelbook. So you can go read that if you want a more deep dive in what this film is about and my thoughts on it. What I'm mainly here to talk about is this new release, which is the collector's edition. So what we get here is you get the film again in HD. You get the previously available special features, including a 41-minute Q&A, some interviews with some of the cast members, and a music video. And then what is added on to this is the documentary. Here it's like Rad, a documentary, a Rad documentary, which runs about 63 minutes long. It was produced in recent years. That gets a lot of the cast and different people back to talk about the movie and really goes deep into the history and production and all kinds of stuff about the movie. This is a great addition. This was actually released as a movie itself, and what I had hoped, and probably what would have been better overall, is that this would get a separate release from Utopia, maybe through like the Vinegar Syndrome partner label or something, with more like unused interviews and stuff that kind of like they didn't get to use in the interview. I think that would have been the best, because what we get here is that documentary that runs over an hour slapped onto this Blu-ray from Mill Creek, who are notorious for not having the best encoding. So having all of that on one disc it does not do the main feature any favors. It doesn't look as good as the previous Blu-ray that I reviewed. A little bit more macro blocking and everything. This was also previously released on 4K from Vinegar Syndrome. I believe it might be out of print. If you can track that down, that's probably your best bet to watch the movie and maybe pick this up for the Rad documentary, or cross your fingers that the Rad documentary is released, like I mentioned, through Utopia in the future at some point. Because I hate that it is kind of locked away on this disc where the main feature does not look the best. But I like the documentary so much that I'm glad to have this. I'll probably Frankenstein a release to put this in with my old Steelbook release, but that's just not viable for most people. So if you want Rad looking its best, don't get this one. But if you just want the Rad documentary, this is your only way to get that at the moment. So pick your poison of what you want. It's just not the best way to watch Rad, just because it's Mill Creek and they just can't thread that needle quite well enough. If you want the Rad documentary, get this. All other ways to watch Rad, get the 4K if you can find it, or the previous Mill Creek Blu-ray release, which wasn't too bad. It's not as good as the 4K, but it wasn't too bad. But finally, we have a release that's been long awaited for many television fans. And while it's not perfect, it is good to finally have this on DVD. It is the complete series from Warner Brothers of The Drew Carey Show. This was when I was younger, like early teenage years. I used to watch this all the time, I believe on TBS, reruns of this. And there are so many funny people in here. I believe this was where I first saw Craig Ferguson. You got Ryan Stiles, Diedrich Bader, and just so many funny people on here. And it just, I think a lot of people don't really think about this show as much anymore because it's been so out of the zeitgeist because of music issues, keeping it from like streaming places. And you can kind of see all the seasons here. And I previously owned the first season of the Drew Carey Show on DVD back in the day, and that was the only one I believe they released. So I kind of went without the rest of the further 8 seasons after that. But now these have been released. It's all 9 seasons, but not all the episodes are present due to those pesky music issues. So there are 4 special episodes eliminated entirely, so those would be Drew's Dance Party Special, Drew Carey's Back to School Rock and Roll Comedy Hour, Parts 1 and 2, and What's Love Got to Do with It. Those are not on the set at all. And also, in addition to that, the original music, a lot of it has been replaced or edited in some way. But I believe all of the intros are intact. But there's a lot of music that just was not able to be cleared. So it's the option of either editing or replacing music, or just having this series continue to kind of be buried and not be seen at all. So Warner Brothers made the decision to release what they had on DVD. And I think most will agree that it's better to have this in at least a slightly compromised form rather than not at all. But the episodes themselves, it's not the best. It's not exactly what I want. I think it's been cleaned up a little bit, overly cleaned up, so it doesn't seem as textured as it should. It looks fine. It looks passable, especially considering they just weren't available previously. But I wish the masters themselves looked a little bit better. It's certainly watchable, but this just is not to the level of a lot of series of its ilk. And I think it got a little bit too aggressive in the cleanup phase of this one. Remastering wise, sound wise, lost the audio. What are you gonna do? But it sounds good enough. It the jokes, they're audible, they land, they're still hilarious. And in terms of special features, you just have what was on the previous season 1. There's like a featurette on there. No other special features to name. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, but Drew Carey fans can now own the DVD set. Like I said, it is compromised music-wise. There are 4 missing episodes, but otherwise, it's good to own this on DVD. Yeah, if you're a fan of the show, it's good to have it on DVD. So there you go. That is my show. I hope you have found something that you are interested in checking out. If so, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what people are picking up, what they're excited about, what's going on their wish list, what they're telling their friends about. I hope if you have a friend that loves physical media that you share this with them. That's always much appreciated. Thank you to all the people who come back every week. I appreciate you so much. I hope you're subscribed to the Geek Vibes Nation YouTube channel. Make sure to keep liking these videos. They're very helpful, and like leaving your comments and all that good stuff. It's very helpful and very much appreciated. I will be back again next week with another big episode. But until next time, enjoy these movies.
You know the problem with Hollywood is? They make shit. Unbelievable, unremarkable shit. Now, I'm not some grungy wannabe filmmaker that's searching for existentialism through a haze of bong smoke or something. No, it's easy to pick apart bad acting, short-sighted directing, and the purely moronic stringing together of words that many of the studios term as prose. No, I'm talking about the lack of realism. Realism. Not a pervasive element in today's modern American cinematic vision.